I'm sorry, everyone, but I have returned, and so too will the bad takes. On that bombshell, let's start the show. Hello, and welcome to the latest episode of the Interpro Show, your home for all things Irish rugby from across the professional amateur men's and women's game in Ireland. Our esteemed panel are back. Well, one of them was back and he's gone now just as we hit record in bed. But Adam and David are here. Hopefully, we'll have the full gang for the first time in 2026, but I wouldn't hold our hats on it. David, I'll start with yourself. I may have said Adam and Ben actually. David, I'll start with yourself. You're with us. How are you? How was Galway at the Dexcom?
Goal was lovely. Yeah, not as cold as it's been in the past. The rain wasn't too bad. I didn't get soaked to the bone. The new stadium looks very well. Credit where it's due. Unfortunately, I didn't actually get into the stand. I was relegated to the other side of the pitch, but it looked fantastic. Um, I think I saw on the URC's website they used that image of the Dexcom all lit up as their promo for the round, and yeah, no, it seemed deserved. Like it's a great one, and to see 12,000 people turn out in Galway for a rugby match is pretty good. And if Connacht can keep filling that, it's going to become a really great place to watch rugby in Ireland. So yeah, no, I'm good. Happy to get out of there with a win because Connacht put it up to Leinster. But it was a very good weekend.
Yeah, it was certainly a contest for a while. But Adam, I hate to bring the mood down slightly, but you are a Spurs fan, an Ulster fan. You said you're a 49ers fan. I don't know how Antrim slash down GA got on this weekend, but not a great weekend for you.
No, do you know what? It's one of those sporting cliches that you'll always have crap weekends, especially when you support teams that are very hot and cold. I'd say for like a sporting standpoint, like at least I have my career highlights in Rory McIlroy winning the Masters, Reece McCallaghan winning the gold. I've still got those moments, but yeah, this weekend was to be forgotten, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it was. Well, I don't know which county you are, but da
Antrim.
you're Antrim. Well, Antrim
I'm
lost in the
Antrim, man.
football, and I believe
Sorry.
they didn't win in the hurling as well. But we, as we
And
wait for
Tranmere lost as well. Tranmere lost as
oh
well. Like
Jesus, it gets
everything's
worse.
it's just punching it down.
It really is. As we wait for our other guests to join us, we're going to start, as with the name of the show, with the Interpro that took place this weekend. A sold out Dexcom, over 12,400 fans, as Connacht and Leinster, well, how do I put it? They played a very good contest for 60 minutes, and then Leinster did what they did best, running out 34-23 winners. David, we always start with the victors in these games, and it really was a case of Leinster flexing their muscles for everyone to see. And yeah, you're a bit of a party pooper, aren't you? You are on mute, David.
Oh, millennial pause, it's happening
Millennial
again.
pause, millennial pause.
Hey,
It was yeah. Look, I think I said it before we headed over there. Like there's certain teams I don't mind losing to because I like them a lot. Connacht are one of them. Munster aren't. But
what about
on
Ulster?
the
For
night
the sake of
on the
clarity,
on the night in question, Ulster. I don't mind losing to Ulster. But Munster can get stuff. But I like Connacht. I have a lot of affection for Connacht. It was a great night, great opening. But I said at the start of the season we started too poorly. Munster had to be the last time we lost, and so there was just no room for sentiment. Um, but for the first 60 minutes, we weren't having it all our own way. It was a tough contest. We had Jack Boyle go down in the scrum early on. Bad for him. Bad for Ireland. Bad for Leinster. And yeah, look. I think after the last few weeks, there was a bit of confidence, and it's like easy. Leinster have been winning games at the death, but you forget that you have to go through quite a lot to get to that stage. And it's unfortunate we weren't able to turn it on right from the start. But like credit to Connacht, they showed up for this one massively. I think they'll be frustrated they didn't have maybe players like Bundy Aki on the pitch from the very start, but they played incredibly well. They're playing nice rugby, and as you said, up until 60 minutes, I think 55 minutes it was 20 to Connacht, 13 to Leinster. It felt like we were trading back and forth, but Connacht were maintaining that lead, and we just weren't able to really, to catch them. They were matching us. Their wingers were playing great. I thought Shane Jennings had a great night, dominated the air very well. Um, I thought Aki when he came off the bench was very solid. But yeah, as you said, we got to 55 minutes, we got to 60 minutes, and it wasn't even Leinster dominance. It was I've watched it back a few times. Charlie Tector gets that try on 60 minutes. It's such a great individual effort from him. It'll be so frustrating for Connacht. He should not have gotten through that home. He almost wriggled his way through as much as he powered his way through. He slips through the tackles of two Connacht men, and then he just pins his ear back and sprints out and finishes the game. And from there, Leinster just advance, and Connacht aren't quite able to claw it back. It's been a running thing with Connacht that they play an excellent 60 minutes of rugby, and then they don't have the bench to back it up. Leinster were able to do that in the last 20 minutes and seal the game off. I think it'll be very frustrating for Connacht that they didn't at least get a losing bonus point, because I think they were very good for one, um, very deserving of one. They definitely did deserve to walk away from that game without any points. But I think it's an interesting one for Leinster, because again they've come from behind, they've come relatively late in the game, which has not been the habit over the last season. It's almost the inverse of what I'd said in seasons gone by, where Leinster would have massive leads going into the last 20 minutes, concede a bunch, but it wouldn't matter because of the lead they built up early. They're actually doing it the opposite. And it'll be interesting to see going forward. There's been a lot of talk about, and I've said it before, Leinster's main problem is that they end up playing the same game the whole season. That is, no matter who they play, it's compared to, yeah, but what if they have to play Toulouse in the final? What if they have to play Bordeaux in the final? What if they have to play Northampton in the semi-final again? Will they be able to do it then? I don't know is the answer, but if they're able to go to that well again, if the last 20 minutes doesn't scare them the way it used to, I think that could be a big positive Leinster could draw out of it. I also thought, and I know there was a lot of disputing over the Player of the Match award. It usually goes to winning team. I think that's probably what swung it. Sean Jansen was phenomenal on Connacht's side. He was easily the best
Did,
backer
did
on the
he did
pitch.
he win it, or who won Player of the
No,
Match?
he
I,
didn't
I
win
actually
it.
turned over. I had turned over to
Charlie
Hurling. I
Charlie
won't lie.
Tector won Player of the Match.
Okay.
Charlie Tector won as awarded by Bernard Jackman. Bernard Jackman has actually since subsequently said, yeah, Sean Jansen was probably the best player on the pitch, but the circumstances where Tector's try is what turned the game. It is what gave Leinster the lead and kind of pushed it away. So, and it tends to go on the balance of the winning team. But I thought that was worth mentioning, both because Sean Jansen was phenomenal. His carries, his tackles, his presence on the pitch when he was in the presence of both Cian Prendergast, his club captain, who's in the Ireland squad, and Caelan Doris, who's both Leinster and Ireland's captain, and he was still the best backer on the pitch. So I thought that was a phenomenal performance from him. But thought it was very interesting, look from a Leinster point of view, that the turning point of the game was a try from our, I don't know what choice, inside centre, who's also played a 10, who hasn't really been near the Ireland debate at all, um,
Third,
since he
fourth.
was under 20s. But he was the difference maker. He was the change. And on a night when, Gary Ringrose certainly wasn't shooting the lights out, um, I think it's interesting to see where Leinster can go, where that strength is coming through. We mentioned it off air. Next week is going to be an interesting one for Leinster because of the amount of players that have gone to the senior squad and then to the 15 squad. Um, but I think it'll be very interesting to see if more lads at the Tector level, at the JJ Kenny level, if those players can have more say, because that team, as much as the Ireland team is aging, the Leinster team is aging too. Robbie Henshaw is 32, going on 33. Gary Ringrose is in his early 30s as well. Um, so it'll be interesting to see if players like Tector, who have shown that they can have such a positive impact, um, can be drawn more into that conversation. Because when you talk about the Ireland centres, nobody's talking about Charlie Tector. But if you're arguing on form, you could say, I don't know, could you make a centre pairing out of Charlie Tector and Stuart McCluskey? They might be two of the better centres in Ireland at the moment. But like obviously it's not realistic as it stands. But if you're just going on form, it's interesting that even in Leinster, and it's a long running complaint that Leinster players can get selected over players in other provinces who are on form. It's very interesting to see Leinster frontliners getting selected over players who are more on form in their own province, but just happen to be younger. So, we were very happy to get out of there 5 points. It didn't. There was a point in that game where I thought I'd be happy to get out of there with a losing bonus point. So, credit to Leinster for digging deep, but credit to Connacht for a really good 60 minutes. They do need to be able to finish out those last 20 minutes, but that stadium I think is going to be one that they can build off the back of, and I think it's been said before that their facilities weren't always fantastic. That can affect recruitment. They now have better facilities. They now have a better stadium. That should help in both of those categories. So, yeah, it was a great night. And I thought it was a really great Interpro. One of my favorite matches of the season.
Yeah, we'll probably get onto it a little bit later, but as you can see, like that is Leinster's. It's not. It's a rough chart, depth chart, but look at all the absentees there. Even like Josh Neal is with the twenties. If you go down the way, Lee Fitzpatrick's injured. He would have been with the twenties as is Jack Deegan. But like a lot of players who are going to be absent this week, and it should be very interesting to see how it goes. But I suppose Adam, as David kind of alludes to there, so much gets said about Connacht and the stadium and the facilities, and it is so important that they have this venue now. And like a little bit of background. I don't know if it was ever confirmed, but the rumor around here in Galway is that the Galway County Board and GA were offered the chance to do something similar with their stadium, with Pierce Stadium in Salthill. They turned it down. Dexcom went to Connacht Rugby. They probably put in offers at the same time, but like realistically, that's how these things work. But they stuck with Connacht Rugby. Yes, it's a 40 million development plan, but like there's Dexcom funding, there's state funding, there's IRFU funding, there's a little bit of everything, and it looks fantastic. And I can't wait to get in there, hopefully for Glasgow as a mid Six Nations game. Connacht, Glasgow, and Galway on a Saturday afternoon is pretty much as close to as good as you can get. So I might try and get to that one, but a big draw. And as you can tell with the crowd and everything, I know David was in the enclosure, he didn't hear all of it, unfortunately, but it was a cracking atmosphere and the start of things to come, hopefully.
Yeah, like I remember a time where Ravenhill got redeveloped. I remember the before times, I remember the after times, and it brought a new light to Ulster. Like it will bring a new light to Connacht. Having 12,000 fans, I would say, even at a push, they would probably get at least 8,000 a game now, like 9,000 a game. You got a shiny new stand. That's more money to bring into the province as well.
With
As
with the
well.
hospitality section, which is probably important to note as well, because that's where money can be made.
Oh yeah, 100% with the hospitality section as well, with everything like that, it's just going to be a proven money maker. They've got the backing, they've got the financials, strong point to it as well, and it looked really good. The thing that I said, I think on the United Rugby Rewind was that I know it's a dog racing track, but imagine them getting the two ends sort of done as well. I knew that it's like it would be like I've been to the sports ground myself. I haven't been it when it was a Stexcom, but like I know that they probably don't have enough space for it. Imagine doing those ends up as well. But having a stadium like that for Galway, it's just perfect. Like for Connacht Rugby in general, they should have had a stadium like that as soon as they won the league, to be honest with you. But yeah, the popularity is high and the drive for it in the West is there.
Yeah. And there's probably a conversation that could be had, the fact that this was the second highest attended game in all of the URC. There was 12,000 fans out. No, 12,000 nothing to be snuffed at, but also at the same time, second highest attendance. Next after that was Munster in their second stadium. There's probably question marks to be had over attendances in URC, but that's for another day. Or for a URC podcast, which you could also find on this channel. But Ben, I'll bring you in here for a second because the two Bs are standing out a lot at the moment. And I was actually originally going to ask you about Owen Cross. I thought he had a great performance, but Jack Boyle gets injured, Achilles, nightmare for a prop, like an absolute nightmare injury, a load bearing muscle. Billy Bowen is the beneficiary, had a very good night for Connacht, called into the Ireland squad. Now there's talk that he could feature against France. And like, it's that debate now, isn't it? It's like, should Jack Boyle have played? Is Bowen the right man? And like, I know we'll do an awful lot more on Ireland next week, probably the full hour, maybe even more on Ireland next week, because we'll even have team sheets, which will be fun. But should Jack Boyle have played? Was it a risk? What do you think?
No. Look, we've been very clear on my opinions on 4G pitches or 5G pitches in rugby in general. Boyle is in the international squad. Boyle probably would have played on Thursday. It's
It's a
Thursday
Thursday.
week, isn't it?
Yeah,
Thursday week. No, he shouldn't be anywhere near that game. But as we said 2 weeks ago, Leinster have to get points. They're looking to get back to where they need to. They're Cullen probably went stronger in this than he intended to, or what he wanted to do at the start of the season. It's an awful injury for Boyle. I think it's nightmare fuel, really, for any player, let alone a prop who's probably going to play for his 5 games in Six Nations. We were saying off air, Billy Bowen, excellent chance for him. Now, is he that level? We'll see. He looks very good on Saturday or Friday night. Looked very good the weekend. I was away for anyone missed earlier. I'm very sorry.
All the
He
days became a blur.
everything just becomes a blur at this point, and the AI let me out to come join you for 20 minutes. Look, he did look good. I personally think it's a huge step up for him. Like playing Leinster just size the nation window is one thing. Going up against that French front row is a whole other thing. I'd like to see him in Thomond on that Friday night. See, can he
He
scale
still
up?
could. That's the thing. Like there's been no official call up behind Sam Crean. Obviously you can't go with just one prop in the
You
XV
assume
game.
at this point it's likely Bohan is going to get
Hmm.
he's going to be in Paris.
And O'Toole
Um,
covers, unless Furlong and Beelum are major doubts, in which case then but then again, you've got like Ollie Ager and Scott Wilson there with the XV team. Surely they could be called up as well. Jack
but
Ainger's fit again. He's been capped.
if we're putting injury in, then you may as well go Furlong or and Beelum at that point. If we're saying players who are just back from injury or coming just
That's
in
true.
from injury. I know very briefly we said we touched on Crossy. Good game. It's nice to see Cross get these levels of interpros. This season he's come on leaps and bounds in terms of games he's getting. Handled what could have been and often has been a very contentious interpro in Galway, especially with an injury that early on. The team of three were excellent, but Crossy can't ask for any more. I think both teams at the end of the game kind of said he handled it very, very well, especially considering some other displays we saw last weekend. Any Dragons fans listening, I'm sorry.
Well, I didn't have much issue with the referee in Cork where I was down covering it, but I very rarely do. I'm a big Owen Cross fan. I do think he'll go to the next World Cup, if I'm honest. I think he's doing very well at the moment, and as you said, he's scaling up every level. But David, to give you the closing word on this, Leinster have now won their last 10 games in a row. The sky fell in and you repaired it. And now there's a crack because there is injuries forming and there's Ireland players being pulled away. And there's just that little chance that Edinburgh, if they weren't completely fraudulent, could come to Dublin and win. But they are incredibly fraudulent.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like it's a tough one because as long as you keep winning games, that's kind of the answer to everything. I was going to say you don't get more points for winning well. You do, obviously you get bonus points, but push comes to shove, winning the game is what matters, and Leinster have kept doing that, and I suppose as long as they can keep doing that, that'll be the answer to most of those questions. But yeah, like it feels like they've done enough now to rescue the season from what looked like a pretty stark beginning. I think there's probably a lesson for the rest of us. I'm talking about myself here in being slightly overwrought at how rough the start of it was. I think we all knew it would be a rough start, but when it actually did transpire to be a rough start, it still took us by surprise. Um, but no, I think for Leinster it'll be an ongoing question of style as well because there's winning and there's winning ugly and we have been winning ugly a lot. And I think that's a new one for Leinster fans who are used to seeing maybe a little bit higher on the scoreboard than has been as much this season. But look, as long as we can keep scraping the wins, we'll keep scraping the wins. And as I said around Charlie Tector, it's an opportunity to see the level below. And for a team that has been relatively stable for quite a long time, I think that's a very interesting and exciting thing to see if we can get more out of. So, as much as I want us to keep winning, I'd like to see what's sitting just below the current level because as we've seen, you can get a lot of injuries, and if that happens at the wrong time, you want to know that the next player can step up.
I
Yeah,
know we're not a Six
absolutely.
Nations pod, but which
Yet.
fraudulent Scottish team is more likely to get a win in
We can
Dublin
be
in the
we can
next
be
Yeah,
eight
who we want to
weeks?
be.
yeah.
Like,
Oh,
if we think one fraudulent Scottish team might get a win, no offense to any Scottish fans, which one is it more likely to
oh.
be?
But you know
Sorry,
what?
David.
I
I'll
don't
let the
I
other
don't
two
think
lads
I
answer
don't
that
think
first.
I don't think Glasgow are fraudulent. I know Munster don't like
No,
them, but
not not
Oh,
Glasgow,
they are
not
they
Glasgow.
are quite
not
good at
not
rugby.
that one. The other one coming to
Okay.
Dublin.
Oh, in Dublin, sorry, because I know Glasgow are going to Galway.
Uh,
Oh, it's an interesting
um,
one. No,
Surely
I've
it's
got to
I,
Edinburgh.
I've got to say it's Edinburgh.
Edinburgh,
Yeah,
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Scots
just
just can't get it together against Ireland. I don't know why,
because
but they
be-
can't.
because I wrote this today, I'm just going to throw it out because I've a long, like 2,000 word piece going up in the Six Nations next week. And I actually didn't cover Scotland in it. And I literally just wrote, so Scotland fans come at me. I'm sorry, Scotland, but you're no longer relevant enough to be grouped with the contenders. So it's back to the others category for you. After years of flattering to deceive, the November just gone would would have you believe their window has closed. And I stand by that. Like I
Oh,
genuinely think Scotland's window has closed.
I,
Like they had
I
their chance and it's
it,
gone now.
it's gonna be like when Messi wins the World Cup, and you're just gonna see Finn Russell with the triple crown by the end of it. Just after
Ah, no, look, I would not
that.
begrudge Finn Russell. Other players in the Scotland team, maybe.
I'm
Coaches,
just
maybe.
very
Finn Russell, no.
concerned they'll get their act together for that one game where they'll
But
see we're
But
kind of wounded
I
and
don't
they'll
feel
come
like
in
it
and
will.
say,
I
I
don't think
feel
they
like
will.
they'll get their act together for the game they always get their act together, and that is to beat England.
In
But other
England.
than
that's
that,
fair.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
And
could
then we
do
get
Ireland a
second.
massive favour. Yeah, potentially. And more money to be spent on Leinster
and
NIQs. Anyways, we're
on
going to
the
move on,
Woohoo!
sorry,
guys.
just one final thing as well,
Go
Kevin.
on.
Like to offer some like not solace, but solidarity to Scotland
You're
fans.
signing
You
an
saying you feel
NIQ
like
player from Scotland.
you
You're
you
signing
feel
Finn
Ben
like
Russell.
Healy, Ben 10's coming back.
you saying you felt like
Woo!
their window had passed. I think there's a lot of people, and some people maybe on this call, who feel there's a degree of that with Ireland as well, where there was a moment there in 2022, 2023, when Johnny Sexton was still playing, when Peter O'Mahony was still playing, when even Keane Healy was still playing, when you're like, you have the guys up here and the guys down here, and both of those layers are rock solid. And if Ireland are going to do it, they're going to do it now, and they didn't. So,
I don't
I
know if I
wouldn't.
don't know if
It's
That's a
yeah,
very fair comp. We'll have
yeah.
loads of time to get to Ireland. There is no one here who wrote an obituary piece on Ireland for all things rugby. Definitely, definitely not on this call. But gents, before we move on, and to everyone at home, just a reminder: the Six Nations is just around the corner. It's what, less than 10 days away now. So make sure to subscribe here to get all the latest content, the Global Game Night channel, from Top 14 Digest to URC show to the Interpro show. I was going to say a bit of an animal, but of course they're not in the
Well,
Six Nations just yet.
they've got the South African derbies though.
They do.
I'd
They've
have to
got South
say they've
African
got the
derbies.
South African
If you
derbies.
want some
Yeah.
URC chat, so it's all going to be here. And as always, if you can share this show with one friend or leave a comment, that's one extra person to get mad at us for our Ireland takes well, as the time goes on. But moving back in reverse chronological order for a game that most of us only watched the deferred highlights of, as Ulster's away misfortunes continued in an injury hit and dramatic late loss to the Scarlets in Parky Scarlets. Adam, when you joined this call, you were just screaming Sam Costello, damn you, Sam Costello.
Yeah.
Allegedly, you were saying that. So I assume it was a frustrating loss.
Yeah, my pretend therapist heard a lot about it.
Is
I
your
feel like
pretend therapist sitting behind you?
yeah, he's very doesn't know a thing about rugby. And I'm just like, but Stam Costello, man.
You know what? Sometimes
Uh,
that's easier.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, there's like for a game that I I so was certain on winning. This must have felt like what it was like to be a Leinster fan at the start of the season. Like, but like for a game that I thought I was so certain on winning, I've never seen a game where the fly half kicks it in the first half. The weather was shocking. This wouldn't be shown in the highlights. Jack Murphy kicked it in the first half. The camera went to move where the ball was. Jack Murphy stood still and the ball just went back and he caught it. And I was just like, huh? I was like, and then since then, I was just like, the rugby gods have it absolutely against us. I'm not going to get into ref chat. Well, I'm going to get into a little bit of ref chat. The Mike Laurie situation should have been carded. The whole situation, yes, I know he fell hard on the floor. However, why did he fall hard on the floor? It was a whole aspect of Mike Laurie is a short player, so we're gonna not get the whole, there's no mitigation thing because the other player was quite tall. It's just a load of rubbish because it's all about player safety at the end of the day. Um, he came off badly injured. He came off looking really dazed as well. And we're at a time where head injuries are so like under the microscope with everything at the minute. Like there was a piece on the news this morning on Breakfast and the BBC saying about how heading the ball, for example, causes CTE. We have so much there. And then Mike Laurie came off injured like that, and there was nothing to be said. The referee, and I quote, said, "We had every angle and we didn't see anything. There was an angle behind the post that would have shown it 100%." But I just feel like it was really frustrating. I felt like everything was sort of Scarlets played really well. They played really well rugby, good rugby. As I said, Sam Costello really played Jake Flannery playing fullback well. Jake Flannery came on at fullback and had a mare. He had an absolute mare. No offense to him, he had a mare. He came onto the pitch, and I can only presume that um, I'm sorry, but like there's a replay getting shown of it now, and even
Yeah.
looking back on it, there's no mitigation, there's no ducking, there's nothing but shoulder to head contact there, in my opinion.
If
But
that ball doesn't bounce, you're not even thinking about mitigation. Like you're
oh
just
no,
like straight away. So
and the ball bouncing does have a lot to play in it. It's such a weird concept. But anyway, Jake Flannery, I think he didn't have the game plan on that. He was going to come on at fullback with most of the game at play, and he looked really caught out. And I really felt bad for him. However, there were so many moments where there was a dropped ball. This was like the least fluid I've seen our back three play. But I think it was just all down to conditions. It was a the weather was not great. I feel like the Scarlet scrum really had a toll on us as well, especially when it was like just before like Angus Bellinall came off. It looked like they had a sort of top trump on us there with the Scarlets pack. Fair play to Scarlets. I did think the game was over when Nathan Doak kicked it off, but of course, we had a TMO call that dragged us back to the other end of the pitch, and Scarlets won from that. Um, at the end of the day, I am a bit annoyed. It's sort of that mid-season, game that I'm a bit worried about now going into the likes of Cardiff next week. Um, Especially with no internationals. This is, as I say, how it feels to be a Leinster fan, victim of our own success with how many of our players now in Ireland setups. But yeah, it was a weird one. I just feel like fair play to Scarlets. However, I do feel hard done by, and I felt like we lost it with three disallowed tries as well. Everyone became really, and I mean really, line hungry. Rob Herring was playing like a man possessed, but get held up every time as well. So at the
Sorry,
end of
were
the
there
day,
three disallowed tries?
yeah, there was three disallowed tries in the second half. It was just, it
Wow.
wasn't. Yeah, we should have put the game to bed a
yeah.
long time ago, and it was one of those where Timony had three or four Scarlets players over him, and then it was just minute. I mean, really minute forward pass, and I was just like, so yeah, we were never gonna win the game. I just felt like all game that we're like we're gonna win it, we're gonna win it, we're gonna win it. Then we lost it, and I just went okay. I was just like,
Time to turn off the TV now, says Adam.
yeah, it was sort of like that sort of disheartening feeling that I used to have from Dan McFarland. But then I was like, Mark Sexton's there, Richie's there, and we're all just there.
And they all signed new
It's so good
contracts
fun.
as well, we should probably add. So
Well,
it's a pretty good time.
it's probably like that old sporting curse though, when like you sign a coach for like another couple of years and then you lose your first game and you're like, no.
Maybe that's why Leinster can't get over the line because their captain is a Mayo man. But anyways, enough about me
Okay, there you
as a
go.
Galway man getting that dig in. But Ben, one thing that producer Lee did say to us in the group chat and was very adamant about was there was going to be a backlash from the Welsh sides, and we got onto it in the next game as well. But there was a real resilience from the Scarlets and from the Dragons, and I think for them, not only the fact that they got the win, but they get possession with clock in the red and they have to do something and they score from midfield and it's this moment and like look, we're all supporting Ulster in this game naturally, but you can't help but be a little bit happy because everything the WRU do is different degrees of shooting themselves in the foot with different guns, so it was kind of nice but also at the same time annoying, you know.
It was both this game and the game after it. I think every game goes in a minute. We're very much that's what you want to see from a Welsh team
Yeah.
in the current climate. Where they're happy to stand up and say we're not going anywhere quietly. 2 years ago, that Scarlets team probably kick it out and take whatever's coming to them. Even 6 months ago, Scarlets just say, "Fine, we played well, 88 minute, we're going out of there." To go up against an Ulster team who have been best team in URC outside of the Stormers for me all season, clock in the red, score a winning try when one of the four clubs, potentially Scarlets, isn't going to exist in 2 years is wild. And like there were reports all week that they were going on strike and they weren't Ospreys particularly, but that all the players weren't going to play. They didn't care to perform how the
Yeah.
three of them did, and the Dragons played quite well. But perform as Scarlets, Dragons, and Ospreys did is incredible. Like it really is. I know. Look, we Adam. Unfortunately, the game went not the way any of us
Well,
wanted, but if we producer Lee here, I'm sure be very happy.
yeah.
And again, I know you were down in Cork, but what I saw of the Dragons, they came to play proper rugby for 80 minutes and were just very unlucky.
Different, like their top tackler at 33 tackles, it was Harry Bedell, and he was everywhere in that game. And I made this point last week when I was discussing Munster with a friend to write a piece. Defense is about attitude, right? Scarlets defended really, really well.
Yeah,
Now, I understand the stats are saying that Ulster have regressed a little bit in attack, but they defended and held out Ulster really well.
yeah,
The
The
Scarlets
Dragons
had
did the same thing.
180 tackles, 7 turnovers, 86 tackle success. Like that's
That's
huge.
really good. And especially in tough conditions where you're going to have a natural swing a little bit, it'll deviate a little bit more. Like full effort, full everything. And like, we're not saying this because this podcast is under the wrap kind of brand and all that, but like, we 100% back Welsh
If they
teams
think
and
we're
we
saying
want
that, wait till Six Nations
yeah,
starts, lads. I tell you, we won't be very kind.
that's very true,
Yeah.
actually. We'll just
And
need to
to
pick
be
someone
I'll
fair,
to
get
come
I'll
on.
get my year 11 hoodie out.
We'll let David speak there for a second. Go on, David.
Sorry.
producer Lee, just on the subject, did say that there is a tremendous amount of very understandable anger
Yeah,
in Welsh
yeah,
rugby over what's gone on,
100%.
and you will see a response from the players, and we did, you know.
Yeah,
And it's kind of nice to see that their response isn't to, because there were other people saying you could see a player strike and down tools, and saw this, and instead they decided to go out and wreck shop, and it was kind of
yeah.
nice to see that as a response.
Yeah.
I think that's why I was not as disheartened. Like I might have sounded disheartened, but like with the whole context what was just going on with the WRU, I would rather like it not be us that they take their anger on, but also I could feel like if we were the reason why it's going to be starting a pushback, I'd rather have Ulster be that team where they're like, they've came down with their full strength team. We're going to beat them, and they genuinely had guys come off the bench that I've never heard of. I was just sort of like, oh, they look quite young, and they played really well. They played up to
To
front
be
up
fair,
like
they
they
could have been saying the same thing about some of year replacements as well. Let's be clear here as
yeah,
well.
well,
Like you
yeah.
did. Oh, sorry, you had Rob Herring on the bench. Maybe not.
Yeah, yeah, but Rob Herring is a legend. He's an Ireland legend, damn it. Anyway, he's probably going to play for Ireland by the end of the Six
Actually,
Nations.
would we shout out Hugh Griffin and what he said, where he took the piss, being like, "Oh, look at me, I'm Ulster. We can bring Jude Postlethwaite off the bench because it looked like Ulster were going to kick on and win."
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then
He
Postlethwaite, like,
dropped
I'm a
he
big
dropped the
Postlethwaite fan.
ball.
Yeah, and he
Yeah,
missed
he
that
dropped,
tackle at the end.
yeah.
Like he was, do you know what I mean? So.
He dropped the ball as soon as Hugh said that. I just went, no, Hugh. He's ruined his career. But yeah, I feel like with Ulster though, but I said this on the United Rugby Rewind, the URC is the only league where you'd ever see Angus Bell, world renowned loosehead, playing in a terrible conditioned Glenathley, and I love that. The league needs the Welsh charm to it. The league needs the Irish charm to it. We just need to work together just to, you know, scrap off like the ones that are running the WRU.
Well, yeah, that's not a bad way of doing things. Why can't all clubs just break away from their unions? Is a common talking point until you realize, no, clubs are basically run off welfare systems from the unions, so we kind of can't do that.
I'm sure we had that
Uh,
article during the week on. I'm sure some of you saw it. That
yeah,
there should be a Munster split between Limerick and Cork and have two separate teams, and they're just like we're not. I'm not going to name the site because they don't deserve any credit. But whatever editor let that be published, oh my God,
maybe the editor wrote it. Maybe that's why.
it's like to split Dublin in two to make Gaelic football more competitive nonsense. It's
Yeah,
just sorry.
except Munster aren't
And
actually winning anything at the
yeah, I was
moment,
going to
so it's
say
different.
they at least only do that to Dublin when Dublin are winning all Ireland.
Yeah, and it's Colm O'Rourke, and he's living across the border, not a lad who's inside the county. But just really quickly, David, one of the Ulster players who did perform again, I don't have the stat line. I meant to save and I forgot was Bryn Ward. He was excellent. He's with Ireland camp this week, so again, it's that juxtaposition where it's like, geez, he's not going to feature in Paris, but he's also not with Ulster this week because he's playing really well and they're down enough players. But it's a great and it's a great moment for him, a great experience. But it's just that like if you're a fan like Adam, I'm sure you're like, it's good for him, but it's not good for us. And which way do we lean on this, you know?
Yeah, I think it's a tricky one. Like I definitely joked that this is what you get for winning too many games and getting more players selected. I think the thing that probably is galling, not galling because it's completely understandable given the nature of the squad with Bryn Ward is that he's not being called in because they're like, you know what, we need you to go out there and wreck shop in Paris. He's being called in to basically shadow the team and play, and train with them. I'm not going to say hold tackle advice because I'm sure he'll be throwing in a few himself as well. But like he's not going to feature in the squad. So it is kind of frustrating to lose a player of that caliber who's playing in that kind of form when you could do with him and know that he's not even getting a cap out of it. But at the same time, like he is so young and he's come, we said it a few weeks ago, the fact that he was on the pitch with Zach Ward, who we kind of fancied to be in that Ireland squad and to be going to Paris and to be maybe starting. And it's Bryn who's managed to grab the headlines and get himself on a plane to Portugal, even if he's not going to be on the plane to Paris. I think, that can only be a good thing. And in terms of long-term planning, like if he can keep going the way he's going, that's going to be an incredible player. He's going to have the kind of impact that Ulster felt like they were looking for from their NIQ signings, but he's a homegrown boy. So, yeah, it's frustrating in the moment, but overall, it's a really good story.
Yeah, all the better for him. And just final word, Adam. I think the biggest frustration of this one is Ulster's away form. Like they won in Durban, they won in Galway, but they've lost to Johannesburg, they lost here, they had two games postponed, they lost to Dublin. It's not quite woes, but it's weird how they've had as many postponed away games as wins. Like it's that like really weird niche stat.
You have to settle in the you have to shake a few hands. It's the way the D4 ones used to do it. I feel like with with Ulster and having the same amount of away wins from postponed games, I'm like, all right, okay, I feel like for Ulster, our away form has been something that we needed to like look at particularly. I feel like at least this year our home form is way better than last year anyway. So we're getting there a step at a time. We are also looking better in terms of bonus points. I think we've got the most bonus points in the league halfway through the season. So we're scoring the tries, we're playing the rugby that we need to play. But those away, like we lost away in Cardiff as well. We didn't particularly look great, but that was a rotated team. It just for me, I think this, as we're hitting the business end of the season, to coin a term that's used so many times, because when we're at the business end of the season, we're going to need to look at some of those away wins, like some of those away games as vital games. We've also got the Stormers at home. That's going to be a vital game as well. There's so many games that we need to think about going. This is the pointer, this is the pointer, this is the pointer. Then we have the Challenge Cup to think about as well. We could have an away game with Treviso. Like that is a terrifying
Can
concept.
he? Are you not
We're
higher seed than
no,
Treviso?
Treviso are top seed. Treviso have not lost a game in the Challenge Cup. They're
Because you're on the same side of the draw as Munster, so that's why it perked my ears. Where I was like, I'm pretty sure,
So
maybe not.
we
yeah,
play we play Treviso if we both win, and then the winner of that plays Ulster.
yeah,
Okay, and then it's down to who's home or away. Okay, that's fair enough.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Go on.
there's all these like terrifying concepts of like playing away, but Richie Murphy has a plan. I feel like we need to back that plan. And also, we've got that, as we said, we've got the whole coaching setup next year. Well, for the next couple of years. We've got Nathan in. We could have another scrum half in as well. There's a couple of players, Eli Snyman coming in. I hope there's going to be more on the transfer front, but I'm
Ah, there
not
will.
sure.
I
Well,
think there will. I can definitely see Ulster making a move. I actually pitched this idea a few times, but like Ulster, Jack Boyle would have made so much sense. Hell of a lot harder to sign a guy who's out for a year,
yeah,
but no, it should be interesting how it goes. And I'd actually completely forgotten you were right. Benetton are a higher seed, but look, come April, we could be talking about an Interbro in Europe, and we'll have to smile through the pain of the fact that it's in the Challenge Cup. But finally, we'll round things off. We're going to go to a rain trodden Cork. I was down there working. I have cooled off, thank you very much, or heated up, I should say. Thank you to everyone who was asking. As Munster overcame a two-score deficit, and it could have been more to pip the Dragons 22-20. Just really quickly, I suppose, like Munster were not good for about 35 minutes of this game and then actually got their way back into it. And if not for a really haphazard try to concede where Tinis Tabir regathers his own kick because Ethan Coughlin and Tony Butler get the call wrong as to who's going to take it, Ben's smile says enough or lack thereof of a smile. It looked like this game was then gone. Munster claw it back. Gavin Coombs, Ollie Yeager, and Evan O'Connell off the bench in particular were phenomenal. And I put the question to Clay McMillan after the game and again, in a more technically advanced podcast, I just go, and here it is. But I did ask him about, the having power on the field for 80 minutes, having Gleeson doing 80, Coombs coming on the last 20, things like that. He didn't say it's something they've thought about, but it is never a bad thing. And it did help Munster over the line when you're playing downwind, downhill against a team who's made a shit ton of tackles and they're starting to tire. It makes all the difference. And I suppose, Ben, this is a game that you'd have loved if Munster won 42-14 and there was nothing to talk about. It wasn't easy, but the likes of Coombs, Gleeson, Edogbo, that's where your focus goes. And to be fair, Ollie Jaeger, in just his second game back, actually looked pretty decent as well. You just prefer if that wasn't the talking point.
No, and look, I think there's a couple of things that kind of not alleviate the performance that it was from Munster, but not even excuse it. But I mean, losing JJ pre-game, you're expecting Tony Butler to come
I
in,
could
and
miss this week. It could be Tom
I,
Wood involved this weekend.
I thought Tom Wood and Mike Haley both suggested as tens for this weekend, which is wild. But look, it wasn't good. I don't think there's any saying it was good. Losing JJ put Butler in probably a bigger hole than he intended. And the parts of the game that he saw, he looked like he never intended to start, wasn't ready to start. Unfortunately, the try bonus point at the end that could have been there has been put on his shoulders from certain camps. Not here, certain camps. Coombs coming in, doing what Coombs does. I mean, we can bring in a player that quality for 20 minutes. I know he's outside the international picture, but for weekends like last week, you're happy enough to have him. Because when you can perform like that for 15, 20 minutes, literally drag Munster over the line in a very tough game against Dragons, pretty much by himself. The only other thing I'm happy to talk about is Mr. Sean Adogbo. What a performance by the young man. Munster home debut, gets man the match. There's a carry, I don't know if we have it, where there's three
Oh,
dragons
I
just
do.
fall off him. And it's, the man was insane. You can't ask for any more. And I suppose a small nod to the Adogbo family in general, like what a week. One of
Yeah.
them gets called into Irish camp. The other one gets his Munster debut. Cove Pirates, Munster Rugby. It's an excellent story. And look, in a game of woes in red, the fact we can have two Adogbos in the business end of the season, both able to carry it like that. More do you want to look at that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just getting it up here. It'll probably be a bit glitchy, but the poor, like it happens straight in front of me, and the poor guy who smashed off the ground.
He tries to tackle him and he's just like,
Oh,
go away. And then he rides through the second tackle on top of it. It's
yeah. And
so
and the
good.
funniest thing is that's not the biggest fend off he's had in Musgrave Park. I'm pretty sure the Italian guy he fended off in that 20s game is still stuck
Yeah,
in the corner underneath the far stand.
like for
But
a game that wasn't all that good, it is nice we can at least have. Look, it's 4 points where we want to be at this stage in the season. As we said with Scarlets, it was Excellency Dragons play with that level of performance, that level of vigor, that level of intensity that I think any of us want from a Welsh team. We just wish we weren't having to talk about it on this podcast. Look, as I've said previous weeks, and I don't like having to say it, but it's 4 points. We go again.
yeah, and it could have been five. They came close, and probably the bigger frustration is the fact that Munster's not inability to play in these conditions, but they have struggled in these conditions. Like considering, and I'm not putting it on the attack coach, it's on the players as well. But like, there's a lot of players and the attack coach have been there for long enough that they should have a way of finding their way around these conditions. But I was actually going to ask Adam about, just another Adogbo. Like, there's another one that's hit the scene. Oh my God, I shouldn't have said that, should I? But look, it's great for us as fans to look at this guy from Cove. Cove had never produced, Cove Fire's never produced a professional player. Now they probably have two internationals in waiting in the same family. A funny story is that Edwin and Sean's father doesn't really go to games. He gets scared that they'll get hurt, but the mother is there at like every game, and like she was sitting like just in front of us. She was up out of her feet the whole time as well. And it's those stories that we're latching onto that we want to see. It was a great week for the family, topped off with this great performance. And like, look, it's just these are the games where you want to be talking about your Bryn Wards, your Shauna Dogbos, your Harry West, your Charlie Tector's a little bit older, but we'll go with Charlie Tector as well, even though he's slightly older. Like these are the games you want to be talking about these guys. And he stepped up at home as well in Cork.
Yeah, I think the Adultbro brothers and the Ward brothers are just like carrying. They could carry Irish rugby.
We-
It's one of
We've
those
got
like,
three sets of brothers who will just run over you with
uh,
Dogbos, McCarthy's,
yeah.
and Wards.
We just need a brother, like a brother pairing, to come out of Connacht, and then we could have a, in
Divines.
theory,
Oh wait.
the I don't know, but we could have the Murphys as well. You know, you have all these like player, you have all these brothers all of a sudden in the Irish rugby setup, and it's just like we just used to have the Carneys. We just used to have Dave and Rob. That's all we had, and they're very good, granted. But yeah, the dog brews. I really liked watching Edwin's player first Ireland camp interview. He looked buzzing. I've never seen like a 6'7" built like a brick, like just an absolute
You
like unicorn.
use the Rob Holding phrase, built like a brick shithouse, I think he said
Yes.
about it that Montreal, right?
He is huge, and I feel like I'm really gonna like enjoy the fact that he's gonna get introduced to the international stage, and you're gonna have England fans going, I've never heard of this Adogbo fella," and then there's just gonna be running at them. It's gonna be like, "Oh no," it's just that enjoyment that we get from big players, but they're like they've got a heart of gold. Like they seem to like. I don't know much about the younger Adogbo, Sean, but he played immensely as well. But the way his brothers came into this Ireland camp and that interview that he gave, I was just like, it's one of those players that I'm excited. I'm excited that I can support. You know, there's always players that I'm excited to support when it comes to Ireland because, of course, as an Ulster fan, if they play against you, you're kind of like, David was sort of like, but we could have an Ireland squad by the end of the Six Nations, judging by injuries. Actually, we can't anymore, but with McCarthy's, Wards, and the Dogbos, but that's next year. That's next year's dream, next year's pipeline.
Yeah, 2027 World Cup is going to be the band of brothers all
Yeah.
involved in green, and it would have been pretty cool if two of us shared the same surname. We'd be like, we just jump on that train as well, but we don't. But gentlemen,
Do you want to
we're
get married? What's the story here?
no, you're fine, Hank. I love how he said that when there's people in your room who would have been very confused for a second.
Yeah, well, he
But
grand.
we've got low because Ireland play on Thursday and we record on Tuesdays, we will be able to do a full preview of Ireland France plus a full Six Nations preview next week. So we're just going to wrap things up here with a little bit of a quick preview to next week's games. Just really quickly for the predictor standings, it's very tight at the top. That's all I'm going to say. So myself and David are tied at 37 out of 50 and one behind us, Adam and Ben on 36. So we're pretty good at that. Now it's not the best, but we're pretty good at this. We're doing all right, to be fair. But first game up next week, Friday night, 7:45, TG Car and Premier Sports, Glasgow against Munster. Ben, I am sure you are just can't wait to play Glasgow again.
Doesn't everyone love Munster Glasgow? Aren't they just the greatest times? During Six Nations, even better. Aren't they
2016,
wonderful?
17, they were great times. They were great times 2016,
I
17.
mean, when was it Conor Murray got taken out?
2016, 17, but Munster won those
Yeah,
games.
yeah,
So
but not really.
we lost, but we won. But
Exactly.
yeah,
No, look, it'll be a fun game. I would like to think we can get. I'd like to think we can get four out of it. At the minute, I'd probably take an MVP and run if we don't have a 10. But we'll see.
yeah, no, it's going to be a tricky one. Always is going to Scotstoun, even with their injuries. Zebra Connacht is at 3 o'clock on TG Car on Saturday. You have to imagine Connacht getting 5 points there. The thing about Connacht is, and like, look, it's been an up and down season, but they have actually done well against teams they should be beating. They've already beaten Black Lion, Montauban, Benetton at home, Sharks at home. Parma's not easy, but you would imagine Connacht will get the full allotment. Like they've only got four or five players gone to Ireland
The
camp, four players gone to Ireland camp. Got him.
decent enough game against Glasgow to be fair to Zebra. However, you do see Connor getting the five there.
Yeah, you would imagine so, and hopefully they do and just lift themselves. 'Cause they're 14th of the table. It's very late in the year now to really have any hopes of a URC charge, but you never know. They do have South African tour to come. Actually, I forgot about that. That's daunting at the best of times. But maybe no, not game of the week, but a dress rehearsal. 5:30 Premier Sports on Saturday. Leinster at home to Edinburgh. David, there'll be two very different teams when they meet in the round of 16 of Europe, but it's a dress rehearsal in name. Can Leinster get the win here?
Yeah, I think they have to be targeting it. Like Edinburgh will have lost players to the Scotland squad as well, so it could be a very green team. But like honestly, over the last the this season gone so far, it's been the greener teams I feel that have have shown up a little bit more, and yeah, I'd hope we could get out of there with a win. I don't imagine there'll be a huge number of people there. Although I was checking the numbers and it does seem like it's selling relatively well. So yeah, no, I think we'll have to hope for a win in this one. I think at home, it's not too much to expect.
Yeah, and Adam, Ulster at home to Cardiff. They have a little bit of injury struggles of their own, as we were kind of starting to allude on. Rory Maguire now out injured, along with Stuart Moore, Mike Lowry, Gerardo Augustus. And then, of course, their Ireland guys are away as well. Should get the win, but Cardiff, it's never easy.
No, it feels like it's like 2012, 2013 again. Like it's proper Pro 12 heritage this. Ulster getting players in the Ireland camp, Ulster getting injuries, then we play against Cardiff. I feel like Cardiff is very tricky. As we say, the Welsh teams have a chip on their shoulder, especially Cardiff as well. They're one of the teams that are in not necessarily the firing line, but they are very openly spoken about having no money and being very poorly managed. So as I said, like it's probably the worst time to play two of the Welsh teams back to back at the minute, especially with this stuff going on. But I would say with the Welsh players away in the Welsh camp, there's not as many I was told by Hugh, just after the call, there's not as many Cardiff players in the Welsh camp as there was in normal years. However, I do see Ulster getting a win because we're at Ravenhill. I nearly called it the Affidea there. But well it is the Affidea, but we're at Ravenhill.
That's
It's gonna be cold, it's gonna be rainy. I just feel like Ulster need this win as well. And if we lose it on Saturday, then it is sort of panic stations. I do feel a bit panicky about the season all of a sudden. I know we're going to get top eight, but the cracks are starting to show there.
Yeah, no, there's a little bit of that, but it's natural this time of year that you just start to get a little bit worried. But gentlemen, thank you very much. We've wrapped this up in quick stead because we're going to borrow time for next week when we're going to have so much to talk about, not just Ireland, but France, England, Wales, Italy. And apparently we won't be talking about Scotland because we've already discussed them and we've taken the absolute legs from under them. But gentlemen, thank you very much. I've one thing to add before we go, before we turn our attention to Ireland and the Six Nations, and that
You're
is
getting engaged?
no,
No.
no, I'm not
Okay.
getting engaged.
Okay.
David couldn't stand to say this, hence why its internet dropped. But Adam, a very early happy birthday to you. Have you got any
Th- th-
plans?
Thank you. I've had plans every weekend, and this is my plans for this weekend is I'm going to a Cork themed bar in Ireland. No, in Ireland, in Liverpool, and I'm gonna go see Vittorio Angeloni in about 2 weeks' time. So it's gonna be beautiful.
That sounds like a plan. If you do need someone to come with you, I will do so. I will step up. But for everyone at home, you don't really care about our social lives or lack thereof. As David comes back
He's
in,
back.
maybe to tell Adam we wish him a happy birthday. I don't know. Maybe he's going to tell him
What's
to go fuck himself. I don't know.
what does 30 feel like, David? I'm turning 24. I'm
It
turning 24.
it hurts. It hurts.
I'm on
Physically
the
Everything
and
slip,
mentally.
hurts.
I'm on the slippy road down now.
Yeah,
Ripe old age of 24.
Adam's going to be walking into the school tomorrow. He's going to laugh at a Vittorio joke, and his back is going to give way, and he's going to be like, "No, I'm getting
The kids are
old."
gonna be like, Mr. Latham, what's going on? It's like, oh, Ulster
You're just
lost
gonna
on
you're
the
just gonna be
weekend.
you're just gonna be doing that with your hands, and they're like, "No,
When
that's so
I
last year."
when I was your age, Adam, the world didn't know who Donald Trump was, and Britain was still in the EU. Those were the fucking days. It doesn't
Oh
get
my
better.
goodness. I can't. Oh my God. I just remember the week that England voted for Brexit, and it is the last note, and also got dumped out of the Euros in the same
Yeah,
week, and the
I
Very
jokes were
appropriate.
insane.
I was in France. I was in France on a school trip, and that was one of
Very,
the
very
funniest night.
convenient school trip.
Yeah,
while
we were.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was mad. We were stuck behind the Swedish national team bus as we were going past the Arc de Triomphe. Very weird moment in my life. But
when they played
as you,
Ireland.
Caleb, what are you
We
trying
need
to
to end
say?
this podcast
Yeah,
before we
we
get
need to
taken off
turn
before we
this
get
off.
taken off the
We
air.
need to turn this off. Right, gentlemen, thank you very,
Cut the
very
last one.
much.
Cut the last one.
I am
Cut the
so
last
sorry.
one.
My thanks to Ben, to David, and to birthday boy Adam as well. We'll be
Happy
back next
birthday.
week with all your Six Nations content and hopefully won't be
Happy
cancelled.
birthday.
But until next time, slán go fóill.